I was watching TV one night at about 11 p.m. when a car pulled up outside. While I initially brushed it off as the neighbor's arrival, my nosy dog insisted on investigating. He messed up the blinds while peering out the window, so I got up to fix them. As I did, I caught sight of a parked car on the street across from my house in my neighbor's place. Though I couldn't discern any details, it appeared that the driver was still in the car. I didn't think much of it at the time. After grabbing a drink and returning to the TV, a significant amount of time had passed, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, but I wasn't certain. Suddenly, I thought I heard a tapping at the door. It wasn't a loud knock, but rather a subtle and eerily quiet tapping. My dog perked up, gazing toward the door, and I paused the TV when the same tapping reverberated on the window. I cautiously pulled back the blinds a tad, only to find a man standing there. His face was obscured, and he swiftly walked back to the door, recommencing the tapping. I couldn't shake off the creeping sense of dread that engulfed me. An inexplicable terror paralyzing me, I hesitated, every nerve on edge as the tapping persisted. It was then a voice in my head warning opening that door would spell disaster. As though on instinct, I headed upstairs to crack open a window to inquire about his purpose. Feeling safer one floor above, I engaged with him. He softly murmured, "Hey, I'm the pizza guy," specifying the total cost as well. Despite feeling foolish for escalating my fear, I reiterated that I hadn't placed any orders. His whispers and gentle knocks were to avoid disturbing the neighbors, he explained. My dog, now upstairs with me, emitted occasional growls and barks, a behavior not entirely out of character. As I attempted to quiet my dog, the man downstairs insisted I come down, settle the bill, and collect my food to prevent it from getting cold. Confusion swirled within me as a stranger's persistence clashed with my repeated denials. It was then that I noticed something odd. He wasn't carrying a pizza. Anger began to fray his composure as he kept pressing me to open the door. His demeanor shifted from frustration to coaxing back and forth, inquiring about the supposedly held pizza. I received an answer that he had it in his grasp. Dark as it was, I could see clearly that his hands were empty. The noise must have reached my neighbor, who finally intervened by opening his front door. The man across from me said nothing, scurried across the street to his car that he had arrived in earlier, empty-handed. What he sought eluded me, but one thing was certain. He wasn't a delivery driver. It was unsettling to note that even in the face of my large dog's presence, he remained undeterred. The fact that he showed up at my doorstep, seemingly premeditated, only added to the unnerving encounter. When this happened, it was so bizarre that I still think about it every so often. Anyway, I was babysitting my nieces since my sister is going out to meet with a friend. I offered to babysit my nieces since their house was nice, and I didn't have anything else to do that night. At first, we just watched movies and played video games together. Later on into the night, I noticed they didn't eat anything, and so I asked them if they were hungry. They both replied no at first. That's when I said I can make a quesadilla for them or anything else that they want. They still replied no. When I mentioned pizza, they immediately yelled yes, of course they would. Well, it turns out, that was probably a bad idea. When I called the local Pizza Hut, I ordered 2 large pizzas to be delivered. Keep in mind that I went outside to make this phone call, quite loudly I should say, because it was dead silent outside. I only went outside because I noticed a bag on the street, and I thought it was mine, or somebody else's. It was just trash when I looked closely at it. I'm assuming this was the neighbor's trash bag. 20 minutes go by and I hear the doorbell ring. It was the Pizza Hut delivery girl. I paid her in cash and I took the pizzas to the kitchen where my nieces were eating. This is when things start to get weird. Not even 10 minutes go by and I hear the doorbell ring again. I was skeptical at first and looked out the window. It was hard to see much of anything by this point. I opened the door only to be greeted by an old man with a pizza box in his hand. He says to me, "Hello, son. I got your pizza that you ordered." I tried to answer in a way that would divert the situation. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't order any pizza. You must have gotten the wrong location." That's when I tried to close the door, but he pushed his hand hard on the door. "Are you sure?" he replied. I firmly replied back, yes, and I closed the door. I thought that was the end of that until one of my nieces told me, "Why is there a man just standing outside our house?" I was confused, but my heart started to pound when I thought it was the same old man from earlier. I was right. It was the same old man still standing outside the house with the pizza box still in his hand. I was terrified. I opened the door furiously and yelled at him that I would call the police officers immediately. He stood there for a moment with a weird smile on his face, and then he finally ran off. My sister arrived 2 hours later and I told her what happened. She looked immediately concerned and then asked who it was. I told her it was an old man who impersonated a pizza delivery worker. I don't know what she did after I told her. I'm not sure if she called the police officers to file a report or not. I used to deliver pizzas for a small pizzeria in my hometown when I was in college to make some extra cash. I used to deliver to the same house quite often. Incidentally, this place was quite close to where I lived at the time. There was nothing overtly strange about this place, except that whoever would receive the pizza would normally take quite long to come to the door and would always ask me to pass them pizza through the security gate instead of unlocking it and making it easier for everyone involved. One quiet night, a call comes through for this house, and I collect the pizzas and get to the house reasonably quickly. This time, it's a lady who I had never seen at this house before, and she opens the door and lets me in. It's not entirely uncommon to be let in to a customer's house, so I don't think anything of it. She points me towards the kitchen, which is down quite a long corridor, and asks me to drop the pizzas there. She follows me all the way, still nothing weird. The passage opened up into an open-plan dining room, lounge area. Through this area is the kitchen through a door on the left. As I was passing through the dining room, I saw something that sticks with me to this day. An old-looking dentist chair with a person lying on it. Whether this guy was alive or not, I still don't know. He had a sheet covering his whole body except the very top of his head and his feet, which were duct taped together. I couldn't tell if he was breathing or not. The lady that opened the door was still right behind me. She said absolutely nothing. We went into the kitchen and she paid me for the pizzas. At this point, I was either expecting to be attacked by this lady or someone else hiding somewhere, or to be scared by the guy under the sheet as some part of sick joke. Not wanting to give anything away, I didn't say anything and prepared myself to either defend myself or not be frightened should it be a joke. I walked out towards the front door, double checking to see what I saw was correct and not just my imagination. The lady still behind me all the way. She closed the door behind me as I left and said nothing. To this day, I still have no idea what was happening in that house. It could have been some joke, but I really don't think it was. The presence of a dentist chair still makes no sense. I didn't see anything else that would suggest the residents of the house collected weird paraphernalia. I drive past that house quite often and still wonder if I was in any danger.